I've been associated with a lot of schools, and never have I seen a school where the former faculty and staff stay so connected. So this is our other group of alumni. They gather frequently. This was this year before Lessons and Carols, and you no doubt recognize some of those faces, but they are back here frequently. And we love that. We have deemed them the Keystone Society. We actually have a spring luncheon for the Keystone Society in a couple weeks. As I mentioned, we had the incredible opportunity to work with Stan Richards. Stan is a member of our board of directors, and he gifted to the school the opportunity to go through his spherical branding process. It gave us a chance to really dig into how are we perceived externally, how are we perceived internally, what are the non-negotiables that we know they're universally true about ourselves. We talked to alumni, we talked to faculty, we talked to parents, we talked to students, and some very strong messages came out of that, and we were able to end up with some very sort of harmonizing language around who we are. And then the Manifesto. We've been using that work. Even using it to where we're thinking about all the different aspects of an ESD graduate. So there's a piece of academics, there's a piece of the sense of community and giving to the community, that understanding of self and the impact of faith-informed values. Those were 4 themes that came out of all of this research that were very strong and consistent among all of our constituent groups. So when we start to think about what the portrait of a graduate looks like, these are the elements. We revamped our website based on this information, so I think it reads very true to who we are. As I said, Episcopal Identity is a critical piece of who we are. When I came to work here with Steve's retirement, I don't have a collar. I'm not a priest, so having representation at the highest levels of school leadership is critically important. So Amy Heller, our senior chaplain, sits on my leadership team, and every decision we make at ESD is run through that litmus test of our Episcopal identity. For those of you who had Miss Elms as a teacher, she's still here, working with first graders. As an independent school, we do have to worry about finances. They're a really important piece. Without financial sustainability, we will not be here. We need to make sure that we have the resources to allocate towards our program to meet our mission, and that we are being as responsible as we possibly can with those resources. Just want to show you 2 dashboard indicators that show the fiscal strength of ESD. Our immediate fiscal strength is very strong. As you can see, we have increased our cash reserves. We have a very strong position there, and we've decreased our debt significantly. Now, we've also kept tuition increases low. This is the first year in 5 that we have increased tuition above 3%. So until this year, we were below 3% for 4 years. This year, we had to creep up a little bit. We're trying to get a lot done for those tuition dollars. And because ESD is young, we don't have the endowment that many of our competitor schools have. So we really do depend on tuition. But we do need to grow, and it will come as no surprise to most of you, and you should have received a mailing a couple weeks ago that we are thinking about the school's future, and we are in the quiet phase of a capital campaign that will support ESD into its future. It's a really exciting time at ESD, and I think it's going to be, we are tagging this as a defining decade. The school is on a trajectory to do really great things, and is responding to the changing nature of education, to the changing world that our graduates that we're preparing them to go out into. But we are going to need to raise some funds to ensure that we have the fiscal sustainability, that we have that endowment into perpetuity, so that we're not resting everything on tuition dollars. We need to make sure that we have the endowment to attract and retain the best faculty and the best students we can. Competing for faculty in this market is tough. We do well, and we want to continue to do well in terms of their compensation, be it salary or be it professional development funds. Supporting financial aid is important to us. We want to make sure that we are attracting and retaining the best students we can in all of Dallas, and many of them can't afford our tuition, so financial assistance will be a piece of this campaign. We're going to make sure that we have the greatest learning spaces possible. As many of you know, right before he retired, Steve was able to attain all the houses along Montwood. We are currently in the zoning process with the city of Dallas to have permission to build a lower school there. It's always been ESD's dream to be one school in one place, and it's certainly, we're getting closer to that dream. So we're very excited about having a lower school on this end of campus. Science and engineering and makerspace and design requires really different classrooms than what we have in the Cook building. So we know that we're going to need to create some different learning spaces for the integration of the sciences and design. So that's another piece of this campaign. Annual fund is an important piece of any independent school, and maintaining the commitment to our annual fund is another piece there. So what we're currently doing now is we're testing all of these priorities, and we're going out and speaking to lead donors at this point and asking them to invest and to get excited with us about this. And as soon as we've reached a certain investment level, then we'll go from the quiet phase to the public phase, and you'll hear a lot more about this, and we'll be talking about named teacher chairs. What a great way to honor our faculty through endowed teaching chairs. We'll be talking about more scholarship for students. We'll be talking about the new learning spaces and putting shovels in the ground. So we're really excited about that. I just put this in here because it's a gorgeous picture. This was an alumni wedding, and it's one thing which we've gotten as far as the concept design of our new lower school space, and we've designed it so that the doors of the chapel in the lower school will be in direct line with the doors of All Saints Chapel, which I think sends a really powerful message. It's very symbolic. So we asked our students this winter, how would you say thank you to all of the alumni and the parents and the friends of ESD, the faculty and the staff, who have given to the annual fund, which directly impacts your experience here at ESD? And our Director of Communications threw that out to some talented upper school students. And this is what they came back with, so I want to share it. Assuming I can make it work. All right, Julie, what's the trick? Thank you. Silly thing.
Because it's a very unique environment.
Because I know I'm getting a good education that will help me succeed in the future.
I love ESD because it seems like it's really easy to make friends. I know I'm going to make friends for life here. I love ESD because it's a very tight-knit community where everybody is friends and everybody likes each other and everybody has each other's back all the time.
I love ESD because I think the teachers are like friends and my teachers. The teachers make school feel like a happy home. You guys have a wonderful teacher because it just feels like family every day when we walk in the door.
ESD has taught me to be respectful to all my teachers and to all my friends.
I love my teachers so much. They're so nice and they help me learn so much. At the beginning I would not know nothing, and then now I have a folder in my brain for that. And they're just really nice, and I just want to thank them. And now I literally know everything. So thank you, teachers. I love you.
ESD has taught me responsibility able to handle yourself and to be kind to others. ESD has taught me many skills like academics and leadership that will help me throughout the rest of my life. Here I have so many opportunities to expand my knowledge and shape my future how I want it to be shaped.
No other school can give the opportunity ESD does.
It's helped a lot with my future and growing, and I think this community that ESD has created is the best
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love ESD.
I love ESD. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love ESD too, and I love that video. You know, before I move on to questions, I want to share how much it means for us when you all return to campus. Not only is it a demonstration of the love that you have for this institution and the impact it had on your lives, but it impacts our students so much. This past week, we had a special programming day on Wednesday. I spent the day off at Roof Run with our senior class, but our freshmen spent about an hour and a half with a graduate from the class of 2013 who came back and spoke to the class very personally about his experience with alcoholism. Something he began to battle his junior and senior year here at ESD. And it was an unbelievably powerful presentation, as you can imagine. That same day, we had another Alumni Camp alumni. Chris has retrained me. I worked at a girls' school for 23 years, and I call everybody an alumna. We had an alumni come back who had played lacrosse at UVA and was there at the time when Yardley Love was killed and was wrestling with the violence against women. And he has gotten very involved with the Yardley Love Foundation, and he came back and spoke to our junior class. They were able to preview a movie that's about to go out about that, and then he spoke very personally about his own experience with that. And you could have heard pins drop in that room. The faculty, I couldn't get them to move out of a room after they were done sort of debriefing the impact that his talk had with those students. So you give back in so many different ways, and I'm enormously grateful for it. It's a very special network of current students and alumni and the impact you can have and the different ways you can give back to your school. So I just wanted to share those two stories because they were just so fresh on my mind from this week. But I would be happy to answer any questions you all might have. Yes? How did we do that? I need to ask Miss Neal, the 5th grade science teacher. What I thought was funny is that we did have those roosters for a few days, and as I said, we're going through the zoning process, and we're quickly discovering that we have some neighbors who don't like children very much because the thought of a lower school in their backyard is abysmal to them. But the roosters didn't really seem to bother them, so anyway. Other questions? Okay. Well, maybe we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll move on to our panel. So I'd invite our visiting panelists to come on up and we'll get situated for the alumni panel. Thanks for being here.